you talk a lot about how you're very hands-on as a showrunner. And
yes.
You direct the reshoots, and you even put yourself into an insert shot with
yes.
one of the actors didn't like needles. Do you think you'll take the next step and maybe direct an episode?
I might. It all depends on the writing. If the writing is done, and I'm not struggling to finish and killing myself at night, I may direct an episode. Especially since we have 24 now, I've been talking about it with other producers and the actors, and everybody would like me to try directing. So it's flexing a different muscle. So maybe yeah. But I really do enjoy doing certain scenes. Like I directed the love scene in the episode it was 6 between Scott and Allison in the car, because the stuffy Brit and the gay Aussie didn't want to direct it. So I said I'll take it. But it's fun, yeah. But it all, for me, depends on the writing, whether the writing's finished.
When you launched the show, since it's so tonally different from the Michael J. Fox movie, was there concerns that was going to be a problem, that you shared the name with this movie that you know, it's really cut from a different cloth?
My only concern was the same one I think they had with Battlestar Galactica, whether they would be given a fair chance because of the name. So I was hoping people would give us a fair chance and maybe learn to love this show as much as my generation loved the Teen Wolf movie. I do think it's a different generation. A lot of our fans probably have never seen the original movie. A lot of my actors never saw it until I sat them down to watch it. But I think we're a different creature now. I wouldn't compare us to the quality of Battlestar Galactica, but I hope that we're treated similarly, and that we're treated as separate products.
Do you, because you're working basically on that for 3 years, have you found the experience to be any different, any more flexible than when you were working on Criminal Minds with CBS?
Absolutely. One of the things it's hard to say if I'll ever go back to broadcast network TV, because the freedom in cable is huge. I get to tell a serialized storyline within 12 episodes, and I'll still be able to do that within the 24. We'll just split them up into 2 storylines. And the amount of freedom and creative freedom that the network gives me is phenomenal. They've really turned into partners on the show, and it's hard to do that in network TV when you kind of feel like they just go for a line drive down the middle. And there are certain things on this show that I think I'd have a lot of pushback on network trying to do.
Do you think cable is more patient with shows and gives shows
absolutely
a long time to be an audience?
Yes, I think they definitely, because you have to, if you hit a certain niche number, if you hit their demographic, that's what's most important to cable. I know that the broadcast networks they're very important, 18 to 49, but the landscape is really changing too because of DVR. I think you've read all these articles about how DVR is in 50% of the households now, or something like that. I think cable, especially a network like AMC, which literally tells its writers to slow down, definitely has more patience to find an audience. Although on a network like MTV, which is building it scripted, I think if you don't have the numbers right off, you better start getting those numbers somehow.
Lately there's been a lot of showrunners that are starting to take on more than one show at a time. Do you think that you'll be one of those next showrunners? Do you think, or is Teen Wolf kind of your world for now?
Teen Wolf is very much my world for now, especially since I do so much of the writing. The voice of the show is very much my voice, and I do a lot of the drafts myself. It's partially just the way I work. If it were, say, a procedural, maybe I'd be more inclined to take on to develop another show. I have certain deals waiting for me when I want them, but right now I'm kind of just concentrating on making sure Teen Wolf is still hopefully A+ entertainment to its viewers.
Do you ever run into story ideas that you want to put into play, but you're budgetarily restricted from?
Not really. The stories we've come up with are... I've gotten very good at training my brain to work within a budget. you know that there's going to be tons of night shoots that happen. There are certain special effects that we're never going to get to be great because of our limited budget, because it is a cable budget. So I work very much within the world that I know my budget is. It would be nice to have bigger sets, to have huge locations. But we're actually working on developing that through green screen technology, through things like Lightcraft and creating virtual sets. So it may actually get bigger on its own. We'll see. And it's all about things becoming more affordable with the technology. I wouldn't mind doing a $250 million movie someday, though. I watch The Avengers, and I just think, my God, they have so much money. And then I watch something like The Last Transformers, and I think, my God, they wasted so much money.
On the panel, there was a lot of discussion about obviously the bisexual relationships and relationship. But on a serious note, do you find that you sort of the show is now being kind of viewed as a sort of a representation of that community, and how you have relationships like that in your show now? Do you feel like a responsibility to those communities now?
I always feel that my first responsibility is to tell a great story. So that's what we go for. If we can remain socially conscious, that's great too. So it's a balancing act, I think, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're suddenly preaching. And I don't want Teen Wolf to become a show where it's hammering the audience over the head with its message. So long as it builds out of the story naturally and is a great storyline or arc for characters, then yes. But as a gay man myself, I'm always looking to represent more of the stories and characters that I don't really see that much on TV or haven't seen when I was a kid. But I think there are a lot of great shows out there now with great representation.
Beyond the obvious, what would you say some of the sub-themes of Teen Wolf?
Some of the sub-themes?
Yes.
The subtextual themes? I would say it's one of the most important themes is growing up in different families. You'll notice that most of the families in Teen Wolf are either divorced or single parent, which is very much from my own experience. I think families in the real world are very different now, and I like being able to explore that on TV. I think a lot of the themes are the different kinds of romantic love, whether it's first love growing into adult mutual love, or whether it's a different kind of romance, even a romance of friendship, or how do I put this gently? I think there are a lot of different themes.
And then as a fellow writer, I'm always curious to know what your writing process is.
My writing process?
Do you have like a twilight hour when you write on specific tools or
I find I work best in the mornings when I'm heavily caffeinated. My day is very much get up in the morning. I either work out with my trainer or I sit down at the computer and write for a few hours. Then I work with the writers for about 6 hours. Then I come home or go to the gym or just eat dinner and then do a few more hours of writing if I've got the energy left. So when it comes to production, writing during production, I write all times of the day and try to get as much as I can done. And that could include 3 in the morning.
When you're on, because Teen Wolf, it feels that you guys do try to bring back to the heart of the actual genre itself.
Yes.
And so is a lot of that, do you try to find that in the script? Do you try to find that? So I remember last season, one of the moments that stick out in my mind is when they're in the ice rink and Lydia has the vision of Peter in the ice.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So where do you usually find those?
I love the horror of the banal, finding the scares in ordinary things. It's stuff that Stephen King does brilliantly, like a long hallway in an old hotel is just scary. So we try to do stuff like that. I remember coming up with this idea that Lydia would open the shower and she would suddenly find herself on the middle of a field, and all the audience in the bleachers were cheering for her, and while she was being mauled by this werewolf. It's scary stuff like that. I love that stuff. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I hated scary movies. I absolutely hated them, but now I completely get off on them. And what we're going to do this season is really try to bring scares back into the show again and make it, we're calling this a kind of haunted house season where Beacon Hills is kind of comes to fruition as its own supernatural setting.
So the first season of any new TV show, you're always giving guarantees. Was there anything that you wanted to do last season that you couldn't do because you didn't experience or the budget for, talk a little bit about that?
Well, actually, I think we managed to do quite a bit last season. I think we really pushed the limits of what our budget and our schedule could do. One of the hardest things to do is make this show on the schedule we have. We shoot it in about 7 days each episode, and we're always going back and picking up little things, doing little reshoots to make it better, which is one of the nice things about cable as well, is because we have a certain number of months before the show actually airs. In broadcast TV, you shoot the show and then 3-4 weeks later it's on the air, and if you've missed something, there's not much you can do about it. But I would have to say that one of the nice things was when we created our Kanima creature, the tail worked brilliantly. We had a guy in a rubber suit running around a lot, and we were sitting there thinking, oh my god, is this going to work? Is this going to look good? And I think we got comparisons to the lizard in Spider-Man. I think our creature looked better, and they had $1 bazillion to create that big CGI monster. So I'm constantly shocked with what we get away with. But we're going to try a few more things. If there's one thing I wish we did have is I wish we could have more stars on the show, more guest stars. Sometimes we have to limit it to only a few speaking roles per episode. I wish we could fit in a lot more grand characters.
You mentioned earlier shifting landscapes, and I was curious with the way like young adult fiction has gone these days. Do you think that this show could have succeeded now? Like, do you think that now is the time that it was really great for you guys to kind of come into the landscape and tap into that?
I think definitely there is something about the zeitgeist, about tapping into what's popular and what grabs people's attention. And I definitely credit things with like Harry Potter and Twilight for paving the way. Although for me, genre, whenever you get genre right, whenever you're able to scare people or thrill people, they always come back to genre. Horror stories have been told for decades in film and TV, and for centuries in books and novels. And I think this genre is always as popular as it's going to be when it's as good as it can be. So if you write a good story, I think people will come. I mean, Buffy the Vampire Slayer preceded this wave with Dark Shadows before it. There's always stuff. I mean, I remember watching Friday the 13th, the series, and then every iteration of the Tales from the Dark Side and all those shows. Twilight Zone was sometimes a horror show. So it's genre to me.
Yesterday, Dino was on a panel talking about...
Yes, I missed it.
And he was talking about Teen Wolf and how he has a lot of discussions with you about you'll have to listen to John Williams scores and but for the entire post-production scoring, of course, being that, like, what's your what do you go through when you're in the post part of the show?
I let the editors spot the show with him. We pick out. I'm very involved in picking out the temp music to the point where I'll go home at night and listen to scores that I like. I write with scores, so I'm a huge score fan. He knows what a Hans Zimmer fan I am. I love all of his Batman stuff. The Dark Knight Rises is constantly on replay on my computer right now when I'm writing, because it's just such a good score. So we're very collaborative, and I love Dino. He scores every episode like it's a movie, which is phenomenal. A lot of TV shows end up reusing huge amounts of score that they've already done and just slotting it in. But he does every scene like it's a movie, so I really appreciate that about him. And he works day and night tirelessly. So he's phenomenal.